As part of our inspirational message series, this month we are going to be exploring self-work, or another way of thinking of it is inner work. My name is Jo Currier.
And I'm Tracy Anderson. Welcome to the Light and Love Box channel. You are part of a growing community bringing peace, possibility, and prosperity to help transform our world with light and love.
When Jeff and I were talking about the topic for January, self-work, it kind of seems like it's more intuitive to say it's inner work. Because when we work on ourselves, what we're really doing is doing that internal investigation of the things that, create our beliefs and our behaviors and the things that we recognize don't serve us. And so it in itself is more than just an emotional kind of work. It truly ends up being a spiritual work.
That it kind of goes hand in hand with emotional and spiritual. When I was reading that article, though, I was kind of thinking about how I think people almost tend to hyper focus on an area.
Yes.
I don't care if it's physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental even, right? People tend to just laser focus in on something, and then they're just, they're only focused on their physical or their health, and that's all they do. Whereas when you start to delve into inner work and inner healing, obviously that kind of brings you into that emotional or spiritual aspect, and you do start to see it flood out into the other areas, and it kind of helps heal and bring balance to those areas
because
too.
Everything that we have inside of us that we are hanging on to, or that we are moving through, that we are growing with, it is all interdimensional. It is not just one aspect. It's like you said, people tend to hyper focus on things. And I found this when I was teaching. If a child had difficulties, somebody wanted a label for it. And they want to label it. But they didn't allow that there was maybe 6 different reasons why all of this was happening. It is a combination of environmental and physical and, emotional and all of those things. It's not just one.
So we have that component of it being the different areas of healing. But for 2023, I think one of the major things that I'm really sensing is embracing the light and the dark side of things. And in our society, light is good and dark is bad. And what I'm really seeing is it's not that it's a good or a bad thing.
No.
It literally is just, this is one side and this is the other side. But if you're able to look at both sides in the middle, you find healing.
Yes.
So I kind of saw that infinity symbol, right? You've got a whole array of light and that spectrum of light. And then on the other side, you have that whole array and that spectrum of dark.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, right where all that intersection takes place, that's where healing and that's where balance is.
But we naturally gravitate to both ends of those spectrums because we have to. But when you're talking, in my mind's eye, I'm seeing like a photograph, a beautiful photograph that has the sun shining down, right? But how can you see other things? It's in the shadows. There's contrast to that. Think about a full moon. The full moon is in the darkest part of, when a full moon is in the darkest part of the night, we have the most beautiful moon shadows. And again, we have the light and the dark, but they are harmoniously interwoven in so many things in nature. It's our humanity and our human brains that, again, label, compartmentalize, judge.
And look at all the things that are lost when we do that. And the opportunity for healing that's lost when we do that.
Exactly.
The box, the January 2023 box, the deck that has the rune, and it's a tarot deck, but it incorporates runes into it. And at first, when I first got the deck, you know, because I'm so focused on, generally I'm just doing runes, and so I kind of have shied away from this deck a little bit, but for some reason I really was drawn to it for kind of planning out 2023. And for January, it was the Emperor card, but it has Theresas on it, which is basically for Thor. And as I was kind of studying and looking at it, it became very, very clear why this was our direction for 2023.
Okay, why?
Because it helps you embrace the light and the dark. So sometimes the tarot is the dark side and the rune is the light side. And then sometimes it will be vice versa.
You mean for each month?
For each month, yeah, okay. as you go through each month. So for January, it's very interesting because it's like the rune is showing us the dark this month, and the tarot is showing the light. And when you look at Theresas, so it's unconscious forces, it's chaos, it's destruction by natural forces, it's the complexities of aggression, conflict, battering down barriers, thorn of awakening, trouble, enthusiasm, just, you know, it's that darker side of things.
Right. There seems to be a thread going through.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you've got the Emperor card. So it's stability, security in life, control, hard work, self-discipline. You set your own rules and boundaries. So you can kind of see where one is such it almost shakes everything up to what you think is stable in your life. Right? So it was really interesting to see those two forces coming together, and then what happens in the center? That's the healing. Right? So it's calling us to heal our boundaries. It's calling us to not be so rigid in life. It's calling us to be reliable. You know, are there areas in our life that we're unreliable?
Maybe it sounds like it's calling us to look at those things within ourselves. People call it your shadow side,
yes,
or your inner shadow, whatever term you give it. I mean, but it's asking us in this cold winter moon, during this time of hibernation, if you will, to pull in and look at these things, but look at them from the standpoint of, here's the chaos, but we can create harmony out of that, but we need the chaos in order to show us what isn't in harmony.
Yes, and then there we go, right in the middle.
Yep.
And then we can heal.
Yeah.
And those areas that we heal then will radiate out.
It spreads to that next part. So almost as if the balance in the middle becomes a wider range. It's not just that one spot in the middle. As you work through these things with the work that you do, your inner work, your self-healing work, whatever you want to call it, then at that point you spread that over into more areas in your life, into more areas of your emotional stability. So, you know, yesterday, Tracy, I knew I had packed a special little gift box. And I had packed it in a bag, and Jeff unloaded the bag, right? And I asked him, where do you put the gift box? Well, he couldn't remember. He didn't remember seeing it. So he sent me to the basement. He sent me to the garage. He sent me to the recycling. It wasn't in any of those places. And I, at that point, remember thinking, I can get mad about this, but it's not going to find the box. And normally I would be frustrated with him, impatient. But I remember thinking as I walked in from the garage, the cold garage, where I had been searching in the recycling, like, okay, if I'm going to find it, I'm going to find it. Otherwise, I'm not going to be mad at him. I remember telling myself that. And not even 5 minutes later, I looked over and it was on my desk. Upside down, partially hidden under something, but there it was. Mm-hmm. So again, when we change our behavior and our structures of doing and thinking and moving through things, we change so much in our life. Because at that point, I'm sure he expected me to be frustrated with him and mad, but I changed the dynamics, not only in our relationship, but the dynamics in how we will handle that situation the next time it comes up.
That's the beautiful thing about healing, though, is when you heal from certain beliefs, thoughts, habits, patterns, whatever it is, right? Then you have this beautiful outcome that something like you can recognize, just like you did. Like, hey, I used to respond in this way. Mm-hmm. Now I was able to respond in this way naturally.
Yeah.
It was
and
natural.
I recognized it, and I talked to myself out loud in the garage about it.
Yeah, and when you actually are able to heal from something, at its deepest core, it isn't a chore. No. And the whole dynamic of your life changes.
It does. Because things just become easier and simpler. Not that they have, but your response to them has softened. And so it feels like things in your life become easier, simpler, gentler. Mm-hmm. 2023, when I look at what's coming forward, the light and the dark sometimes can be equated to things like masculine and positive, the yin and the yang, those types of things. And when I think of 2023, I almost feel like we have to delve into these things initially in order for the end of 2023 to bring the outcome that we want. And I go back, I think everybody has come here with a purpose. And I think what we experience and how we work and move through experiences and emotions and events in our life, everything is for our soul, for the growth and for the delight of our soul. And it doesn't feel so good to be growing, but
no.
But that delight when you recognize, oh, I've changed, or I've grown, or I've moved beyond, then it's kind of like childbirth and labor. You kind of you remember it hurt, but you kind of forget all of that once you have that sweet little infant in your arms.
I just had that conversation with someone the other day. That's how you end up having multiple kids, because you forget to a certain Oh boy.
Yeah. And you say, it can't be that bad next time.
Oh boy.
Well, I'm excited about this, honestly. I love how in 2023 there are some new incorporations of things. And it may only be for this year. It doesn't matter. But it's going to give the Light and Love box a new depth, a different feel, a different presentation because of what's going to be coming forward in each box. And I think there are a lot more correspondences that are going to be happening.
We invite those of you who wish to dig deeper to visit the link below to check out the Light and Love Box subscription. These monthly energy-based ceremonies are designed to help you focus on your true intentions to manifest your best life while healing your spirit, soul, mind, body, and emotions.
Subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you can be notified when new content is released. Remember, we are fostering peace, possibility, and prosperity that is community-based. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you at the next video in this series of the inspirational messages.